All right, we're live-ish recording back in 2022. The gang's here. We're in our kind of revised studio. We got some more changes to come here, but the new home, the new office. So we're giving this a maiden voyage on the podcast. So it's exciting.
Yeah, we don't have light coming right in at us through the window,
Should
so
be
it's
a little
kind of
bit better,
nice, a little
a little
diffused.
A little more quality. We have some surprises and changes coming. So
a little more real estate.
Stick with us for the year, and you'll watch this thing evolve. And producer Reese still over here kicking butt, so appreciate that.
That's right.
We need to get him a mic.
Yes and no. I don't know if we should or not. Just kidding. Probably should.
You might steal the show.
Yeah, that's true.
Rolling backstage, so.
So yeah, it's been a busy couple of weeks to 2022. We're off to a interesting cyber start. We have a few stories we can kind of walk through. I think the one that's been really all over all social media, including like LinkedIn and everything else, is the arrest of some of the members of REvil and taken down. And there was some interesting news video posted from the SFB, and the whole thing is very. I'll use the word interesting to kind of play with this, and I'm kind of curious to get your guys' take on where this stands. If it was, if this is legit, if it looks more, I don't want to say staged, but it was a little kind of odd to me, right? Just some of the way it kind of played out, and it's almost like allegedly, kind of choosing my words carefully here,
right,
feeding themselves to back to the system, so to speak, right? So. I don't know. I mean, what do you guys kind of think of this whole thing and how it went down and what's happening so far with all that?
Political theater?
Yep.
Yeah, that's a good way to call it.
Yeah, you read my mind. I was like, there's, we'll give you a deal. We'll give you a couple low-level guys, and that gives you press. And, as a result, America's happy. And I think really a lot of it has to come down to, like you said, political theater and just making certain actors happy. So one thing I read was that it's likely that the management of REvil or the senior execs there likely weren't the ones that are arrested. It was probably lower down the chain.
The corporate shield was not pierced, as they might
right.
say. It's more of the street corner gang type affiliate. If you look at the whole mob mentality, it
wasn't their firstborn they gave up.
No. Yeah. Right. I mean, you can kind of tell by, for the amount of money and chaos they've caused, it seemed like they weren't too, flashy with it. And, it's just very, very odd video, right? I don't know. It's just strange to see. But to your point, it wasn't like the people really making the decisions, I think, that were the ones that were taken off the streets, if you will, right?
Right. And these groups are like five-headed hydras. You take down one or two of them, it doesn't mean anything, right? Because they're distributed globally, and these are just a few of the actors. So, I think more than likely it was a means to appease certain groups and to get at some good press. But I think the group is still at large for the most part.
Yeah, I think you said it best, right? Because we have some, like the U.S. has kind of been asking, about this and asking Russia. It's like, well, maybe we need to do something to kind of show good faith and show something here. And, obviously kind of also tying in with some of the tension right now between Ukraine and Russia and some of the other stories we're going to cover. Everything kind of ties together here. It's just really convenient, if you will, right? So
yeah, I mean the big picture is all about international security too, and so to date we haven't seen a cyber war escalate to an actual physical war, and so this is one of the ways I think to help diffuse it to some degree. Is okay. Well, if we arrest some people, we'll take some tension off, and this won't escalate to be a war.
Yeah.
So, I mean, this could be our first time that we see some of that. I mean, we're seeing it in Ukraine, as we alluded to, that we'll talk about a little bit more. But, yeah. So, long story short is you throw up a couple of things to make it look like that. Then the people kind of back off because they're like, well, they got arrested. They did some things. And you try to sweep it underneath the rug.
Especially because it was like all over a lot of media, and there was, video about it. And it was very like, okay, boom, here it is. Here's the video to prove it and release it and everything. So it's almost kind of like, hey, look at us, like we're doing stuff. Now look over here and don't bother us for a while, right? And I think we all know, I think, Simon, to your point, it's like, these things don't just disappear overnight. They rebrand, they, re-strategize. We've seen it before. We've said it before in the show hundreds of times, right? Like this won't be the last of it. And, this is kind of more, in my opinion, just a, hey, let's kind of do some, a little bit of cleanup here, and look the other way and kind of move forward. But it's not going to be the last of this isn't the disbandment of a major cyber gang, flat out. I mean, simple as that, right?
Yeah, and truth be told, yeah, I mean, there are probably half the original members of REvil still left in it, if at all, right? That could just be an old brand at this point. Everybody's kind of moved on. And really, because if you look at a lot of the press that's been coming out from the White House and whatnot, it's all surrounding, like, we understand one of the individuals from the Colonial Pipeline attack, right? So they're still looking back to these breaches that happened earlier in the year and trying to find those individuals, because and truth be told, it is like 1% of the actors out there that cause like 99% of the problems. So it's a smart strategy, but at the same time, they're already moving forward, right? They're already off to the next team, the next strategy, the next model, or whatever that it may be. So it's very interesting to see the approach here, but a lot of stuff just going on in that hemisphere of the world.
By far. And they recycle their code, right? We've talked about ransomware as a service in the past. And so it's not hard to buy a new domain or in the dark web, start up another forum or whatever, and you link to the other forums and you say that you're a new gang. And they probably already have a lot of that already. To be honest, they have multiple forums set up and multiple names they already operate under. The code's been distributed out across many different platforms, so they can just recycle it.
Yeah, the core foundational aspect doesn't really change. It's just, tweaking the details and the, detonation methods and the access methods and
reroute.
And it's also like, hey, are they going to use things like, it's a COVID type of play, so they use COVID as a way in, or it's an election year, they use that as a way in, and you kind of strategize your openings and interests based on kind of what's happening around you, but the underlying foundation is rinse and repeat a lot of the times, right?
Yep. Donate $20.22 to this campaign. Yeah. Click the link. Bam.
And you did not win a free iPad. Sorry.
That one bidding website where they say it's $20 or whatever, but it costs like $5 a bid.
Oh yeah,
cracks me up.
Or like shipping is $400, or what is it, like Wish.com? Like
right, they're gonna get
all these videos for like PS5s. Like, I don't think so.
Yeah, they're getting their money. Don't be fooled.
Of course.
Well, and it's funny you mentioned that. So one of the interesting takes about this that I heard was from Tom Kellerman, the head of cybersecurity strategy at VMware, and he mentioned that the reason they may have went after these individuals and set up the sting is because they actually started targeting targets inside of Russia themselves.
Breaking the code of ethics type of a thing.
Right. I think there's a phrase out there that's a little bit flowery that's, don't blank where you eat, right?
Yeah.
And that's kind of, I think that applies here quite nicely, because that you could see the repercussions. They take it a lot more seriously when you're attacking your home soil.
Yeah, it's like, hey, go play over here in this sandbox, but don't cross this line or else. And then this might be the, hey, don't poke the bear.
Don't poke the treason button.
The polar bear or whatever. I don't know what Russia has, but
yeah, right.
You get the idea.
Nice.
So
Pillsbury Doughboy, not theirs.
Yeah, right. So yeah, I mean, kind of tying on that same issue here, we have kind of this conflict rising out of Ukraine and Russia, and a lot of attacks right now happening, and a lot of finger pointing and a lot of speculation. And I think to your point, it's kind of terms being tossed around about kind of a hybrid wars as a precursor. It seems very geopolitical at this point and where things are going, and I think we're going to see more state-sponsored type attacks on these types of things and where things are going. And it's definitely something that we should all be kind of watching and really kind of taking note of, because, stuff like this can happen to, us in the U.S. at some point, right? I think we're all aware of that and how critical some of the infrastructure is, and a lot of websites being taken down right now in the Ukraine. And, it seems very much a malicious intent, causing chaos and panic and fear more so than pure money, in my opinion, on this one, right? So
some politically motivated attackers here. I think that's the key, and I think they defamed a few websites and even had some political messaging on there. So oftentimes in these situations, it's hard to trace whether this is, like you were mentioning, state-sponsored attacks, or if this is just sole individuals going out, trying to send their own message, because that's a lot of the times what it is. And especially because a lot of what's been stated so far about the attack states that it's somewhat low level, in the sense that it wasn't highly complex. Maybe they got into a CMS system and were able to defame a few websites, which isn't the hallmark of, say, elite attacker groups or APTs. But at the same time, it should still be noted that the timing of it all is
very convenient.
Right. And I think that's the real issue here, is regardless of how big the attack is, it kind of sets a precedent that everybody should be on their guard, particularly in the country of Ukraine. So,
well, they're trying to scare the citizens, right? They deface the website and say, be afraid and wait for the worst, quote unquote.
Right.
So that's part of the thing. You get the citizens to turn on it, and now, the reaction can be a little different. The government's got to make a response now. And so does that make it escalate even more? And then the Russian troops now cross the border and come in, obviously satellite footage is showing an increase of troops that are by the border.
Yeah,
for sure.
There's several thousand, right? I think, if I recall, or something like that.
Where does that head from the whole international security standpoint overall?
Yeah, I mean, the other aspect too is, some of the articles are mentioning, good old Log4j, right? Mm-hmm. So I think this is another aspect of, hey, there's going to be more of these exploits still out there. We're going to see a lot of this kind of carry through, very much a, supply chain kind of quote unquote type of thing here as we're getting into it, leveraging these large attack vectors to now really kind of carry out targeted and specific missions, if you will. So, this one's going to kind of carry through for quite a while, I believe, too. It's, the Log4j aspect and, patching versus mitigation and all those kind of things you talk about, to our clients and things like that. It's still really relevant too. So, guards up, right?
Yeah,
absolutely.
That supply chain's still messed up overall. I got an email the other day from a national retailer that said, all of our Christmas stuff just arrived, massive clearance to unload it.
Wow.
Right. What do you do, right? So, I mean, I know they're now lining the ships up, I think up the northern part of the coast is the last thing that I read. So, I mean, who knows how bad it really is from that aspect.
And then, kind of to your point, we see a lot of lead time slipping right now too with our vendors and clients. And it's like, we can't really guarantee this will be here, but, the times are going up, not down, unfortunately, right? Mm-hmm. So we're still seeing some of that, changes and things like that going on. So, but yeah, it's this is going to be out there for a while, right? Log4j it was a nasty one, right? Or is a nasty one still. So we're going to see more and more of the fallout the next 6 to 12 months.
Yeah, we're not going to see it tomorrow. It's going to be a long time out. I mean, there's still people getting hit with the exchange from over a year ago, and it's just coming to fruition now. Like they sat there and put the sleep counter on for 6-9 months, maybe even a year.
Yeah.
Right. Truth be told, you're still seeing stuff even from 2017 out there. So the Log4j is brand spanking new. It's still going to be highly leveraged, I think,
for years.
Yeah.
I mean, flat out, right? I mean, no way around it. So,
but it's also a valuable tool, and you can learn more about that.
Yeah.
So, shameless plug.
Right? Java Apache.
At the Angel Beat conference tomorrow.
Come join Brian presenting tomorrow, giving us a deeper dive on that with some good information out there. So yeah.
But yeah, it is a useful tool. So that's one thing that I think people got to remember too, the business value. Don't just go shut all these things down from that aspect. But it's a patching thing, right? You go back and you know your assets and you can patch them.
It's a life cycle, right? I mean, to your point, like you don't want to just be, spiteful and be like, oh, this is dangerous, rip it out and turn it off. It's like, well, you could be doing more harm than good in the long run. But, what's that saying? Like spite your nose or your face or something like that. Talking
don't
about
cut off your nose to spite your face.
Exactly. Like it's kind of the same thing, right? You don't want to be a harsh reaction and just rip things out when there's value there, right? But I think kind of coming back to this, right? We're going to see a lot of more advanced, state and APT kind of sponsored, people out there leveraging these for quite a while in their attack vectors on, various countries and companies and resources as well, right? So it's not going to go away.
So wrapping up the Ukraine thing here, this is interesting where a notice went up on the machine and said, all data in the computer has been destroyed. It's impossible to restore them. So this isn't even just a ransomware. It's a complete just destroy the box.
Yeah, I think it was targeting the master boot record, right? If I'm not mistaken, as well. So to your point, it's pretty much just, hey, this is very malicious, right? Not about the money, in my opinion. So it's a little bit different motivation, and very spiteful type motivational on this one. So.
Yeah, a lot of the intent here is damage as opposed to financial intent or anything else, right? It's just to cause damage, cause service downtime, delete data, make it irrecoverable for an organization, right?
Yeah, much more of that geopolitical activism type mindset than just, hey, give us money. Like, we know you can probably pay a $10 million ransom. No, this is very different, right?
Yeah, so. and usually that's state sponsored. Not all the time, but I think, like we said, given the timing of it all, it may be pretty obvious. I think they were even saying a lot of this was similar to what was happening in 2014 when Russia was doing a similar thing to Ukraine at the time. So not even the necessarily new strategies are being employed here. So I think a lot of the flags are pretty obvious.
Yeah, it's crazy. So guys, I have bad news. The FBI says QR codes are bad.
Oh man,
did you know that?
Do I have to take them out of my presentation now? I'm leaving it in.
You should, for obvious reasons. Yeah, I thought this was kind of funny. I mean, it's an article that came up, but we've been saying this for I don't know how long.
Long time.
Preaching this for a long time, and I use it in my presentations too to like trick people. Like, I show two QR codes and say which one of these is bad, and people are like, well, I don't know. I'm like, exactly. Like, that's the point. Like, you're not going to know by looking at it, right? So I think, unfortunately with coronavirus and, now everybody being trained to use a QR code for contactless payment has broken some good cyber hygiene. And now people click these things like crazy, right? So, I mean, just for our viewers out there, these are very easy to, manipulate and exploit, and just show a QR code that takes you to a phishing link or malicious loaded software. And it's scary how easy it is. And, you can just put a sticker over the little Lime scooter thing. You put a sticker over a QR code at a restaurant, and just no one's going to know, because you can easily make a website look legit, and boom, you're siphoning contact details or credit card information or who knows what else, right?
Well, I mean, on that tiny little screen, can you really validate and check it?
Yeah.
And now a lot of these browsers, they even hide the URL bar now, or they moved it all or whatever, and the latest upgrades and updates. So there's a lot of you have to actually go scroll or peek in or whatever to find that stuff now.
Well, the good news is, I know, at least on Apple, I don't know about Android, but when you now hover over a picture of a QR code, it does present what the URL is. But we all know,
bit.ly.
That's exactly.
Or bit.ly.
Tiny URL .xz9. All right, cool. It sounds probably fine for the restaurant I'm at.
And the worst thing is, if it's a good enough attacker, they can do it in a way that you'll never actually even know that it happened, because they'll just redirect you to the actual website by the end of the attack. So it's like you get your cookie stolen, and you never realized it happened because you're actually on the website menu or the restaurant menu by the end of it, right? So it's even it's double whammy in that regard. But the previews help. But like you said, people are just accustomed to clicking through things, and if even worse, if it's using a URL shortener, because then at that point there's no real way of knowing unless you open it up in a detonation chamber, and who does that?
Yeah, you're sitting there at lunch, sorry guys, I gotta open this up in my detonation lab before I can pay the bill. No, just here's a credit card and move on, right? So I don't know. It's
but what's worse?
Exactly.
Handing your credit card off and having it swiped, or I don't know.
Yep.
What do you use? Apple Pay? Do you just stick,
Oh, I love Apple Pay.
The tap.
Everybody's blown away when I just go up with my watch and do it, but it's a different credit card encoding number on
Plus,
there.
if you're sitting at a lunch or something like that, they're not going to take it, right? Well, they might if they bring you the little thing.
Yep.
Costco
gas, they now take it where you can just swipe the card, or not swipe it, but tap and go for the gas, which I was like, oh, this is great, finally, because they've had those machines out there for years, and they finally turned that feature on. But instead of having to put it in there, it makes a lot of sense. Tap and go, way faster than the chip.
Oh, for sure.
That was a poor design in my opinion.
The chip is kind of funny. It's like Put it in, take it out. No, just kidding. Put it back in. Wait. Okay, now what? Just kidding. Okay, now take it out. Like,
so what's the difference of putting that in there versus tapping and going? Well,
I think it was a technology rollout. Like some of those tap stations weren't really available, but now most cards and I think providers support that. And like if they have it, by far it's. And also, I think from what I know, it's I think in theory more secure because you're not actually swiping anything. You're just passing the actual token, right? So,
yeah. What's interesting is I was in Europe many years ago, 4 or 5 years ago, and they were actually already on the contactless payment standard. I mean, it was widespread use.
Nice.
And it wasn't really until COVID that it really started getting implemented here in the U.S., which is just an interesting thing to note. Yeah, I guess COVID really pushed us down that road of that technology.
The other thing too is it kind of killed off cash in a lot of ways too. I mean, like for me, I never was like a cash guy, but like my parents, and like that type of thing, generation was very much so. So, they're all about that. But now it's like, hey, like we don't have change or we don't want to give change. So it's like kind of almost forcing this, plastic mindset or digital mindset. So
yeah, a lot of places had things posted correct change only.
Exactly.
Or card.
Yeah.
Like a lot of the theme parks only take credit card now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they kind of like just put a hard line in the sand almost and just kind of wiped out a whole.
But you know what that lets them do? Track you.
That's true.
Exactly.
Right? So they know when you buy your theme park ticket, they can encode that. They know what you bought, where you bought it, what time you bought it, and they can kind of calculate where you've been around the park.
Yep. Brian likes to go to SeaWorld, so I'm going to, target ads him on, coupons from my credit card to SeaWorld or whatever it is, right? Things like that.
Not very good for our money launderers out there.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I'm saying, cash could be untraceable to some extent, right? So then it brings up the whole other side of, now we're getting into the weeds of cryptocurrency and taking it
fraud,
the digital opposite side and that whole type of a thing. So I guess we'll be curious when we can start paying with crypto at like,
major
Target
retailers.
or Red Robin or something. You go to lunch and you're like paying with your, Bitcoin account. So,
well, I think it'll all tie back to like a broker, like the Venmo type of model.
Yeah.
And then they'll have access to all your different types of funds and you can pick and choose which fund you want to pay with.
Yeah.
I think that's where it's kind of heading with all of that personally.
So anyway, back to our thing, QR codes.
Oh yeah. QR
Scan
codes.
them, not scan them, take your kind of risk. I mean,
yeah, I mean, look.
Be smart about it.
If you're going to scan something at like a restaurant, it's a lot easier to just like navigate to the restaurant website yourself and like pull up the menu. If you are going to scan a QR code, just make sure you have the preview on. And if it does use a URL shortener, at that point, honestly, you should ask your server if you could just go to wherever it is. Because I'm trying to think of all the other reasons you would use a QR code. That's probably number one on the list is at restaurants because of the menu.
I think that's the biggest one is the menus and contactless payment.
Right.
At least from like a day-to-day perspective of
business cards. I mean, there's tons of use cases. I see a lot of TV ads now have QR codes on them.
Right. That's
because
true.
they want it simple to go and you just open because they know you got your phone in your hand.
Yep.
Yeah, someone's probably watching TV while watching YouTube on their phone.
Right.
And then like, oh, okay, click,
I mean, how often do those ads fly by? They're 30-second television ad. They put the QR code up there. You can't get the phone number down, but I can scan that really fast.
Right.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, it might be worth it to get like a detonation chamber plugin for your browser on your phone at that point. So it does a little bit of, but then you have to, validate that software. But it's just
the other thing is like look for stickers, right?
Exactly.
Like obvious things that could be done or. Does that ink look like it was printed out at home or was that a laser printer?
As opposed to like maybe a QR code under a laminated menu that you get,
exactly
things like that, right? So, or to your point, I mean, like when in doubt, go to like the website directly, the menu. And a lot of times they might even have, pay through the web app or whatever, and you kind of click your number there. Or actually what I think is obviously more secure is some of the restaurants we're doing this pre-COVID where you have the little like terminal on the table and you can like reorder drinks and you can just pay your bill there. That's going to be your more safe bet as opposed to if you're worried about QR codes and, to your point, like, is it a sticker on top of a sticker? Like, I don't know if I want to click that link.
But I know I always ask for a menu at restaurants, right? Anytime I go out, there's always usually an option. Oh, you can scan this code or
A lot
Do
of
you have
places
a
now
menu
are
over there?
A lot of places now ask, and you're like, oh, or if you're like me and a creature of habit, I already know what I want anyway half the time. So it's like I don't even need a menu. Just I want this.
Yeah, that's true. If you go with the intention of going to that specific place, you probably have an idea of what you want. So and you just can avoid it altogether.
That's me right there.
Now, was that sweet tea or unsweet tea? And don't answer the question because I know it's one of your security questions.
Right. Yeah. Changing that right now, Brian. Thanks.
Yeah.
Diet
I mean,
Coke.
at the end of the day, I think it's all the same mentality as avoiding any other type of phishing link in like an email, right?
Yeah.
You just have to double check.
Treat it as such. Treat it as kind of like risky.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. You exactly. Treat it as it's like a unknown sender coming with an unknown link. You wouldn't click on that, so why would you click on the random QR code?
So is it safe to say you're not going to get the QR code tattoo I've seen people getting now?
Yeah, probably won't be getting that tattoo.
Just making sure.
But I know one of the examples they used here was a parking meter. So
oh yeah, that's a good one.
How many people have quarters or whatever to put in the thing? And if you have an option to do that, because not all the meters are updated.
Then you can extend it by your phone. Like, oh, I got to add 5 more minutes.
Mm-hmm.
So I understand the convenience and all of that from there versus having to type in even the bit.ly or whatever other type of URLs they might come up with. I mean, that's complicated. I get it. So that's the reason why QR codes are effective from that standpoint. But still have risk.
Trust but verify. Use caution. Treat them as spammy. But they're not going to go away overnight. They're going to be here for a long time.
Yeah. And my answer to rebuttal to that is, maybe the website developers should make their links less cumbersome, and then you wouldn't need a URL shortener, right?
True.
Whatever.com/menu.
That's too easy, though. Amazon, AWS, US East, S3/XY13 menu, PDF.
Maybe don't put your menu in the cloud then.
I don't know. We have lots of options, so.
Yeah, well, a menu is mostly.
Well, you type in the wrong URL and you put the wrong name, and now you got a squatter, and maybe.
Or to your point, make the menu available from your main website easy. Like 2 clicks in. Like if I go to, I'll just say Red Robin, right?
It should be on the top right hand side of every menu.
What is it what they call it? The little hamburger icon? People call it, right? 1 click in, menu, boom, done. Okay, I'm off and running. Fair enough.
Also, your menu doesn't need that much JavaScript on it. Like it could be a static site. You know what I mean?
Literally just a picture.
Yeah, exactly. You don't need
a high quality PDF is all you need. You can zoom in.
Well, it's all the analytics. That's why there's JavaScripts on there. They're looking for where you're coming from, what you're doing.
Which menu item did you click and dwell on? Like, oh, he likes whatever sushi, right, or something.
Right, exactly.
Right? Yeah, he looked at this sushi for 20 minutes, but ended up buying that teriyaki bowl.
Yeah.
Okay, well, what's that all about? And they can do process and analysis or whatever.
I guess just make your choice: JavaScript or cross-site script, right? So
PDF picture.
Yeah.
Nice.
Well, I think we're. This was a good conversation, and Brian has a nice little thing he's doing tomorrow for Angel Beat. We'll post the links below, so come check him out.
The last time I checked, I go last, so I'm between you and happy hour.
You got to close it down.
So I'm excited about that.
Sweet. I'm excited to watch it and see it. And then, with that, we'll be doing the show more often now. We're trying to get to 1 a week. So like, subscribe, follow, comment. Let us know if there's certain things you like out there, if there's certain topics you want to see us focus more and cover, or certain guests. And
if you want to see Reese, let us know. Leave some comments.
Producer Reese.
We'll get Producer Reese in here.
All right.
See you guys.
All right. Take care. Bye.
Take care, guys.